Good day there once again, viewers. This is your mate Kamikaze78 here, come to you guys with some more Modern Warfare content. So guys, the RAM-7. This is a weapon that I've been looking forward to talking about for a while now, and to be honest, I've had it for about a week now. I had every intention of getting a video out to you guys sooner than this, but being a retail worker this time of year means that time is a commodity that ends up disappearing faster than money that you spend on Christmas gifts. But yeah, sorry about that guys, I promise you that I'm not dead, I'm just moving a bit slower than I normally do. Anyway, let's talk about this little powerhouse of a bullpup rifle that is the RAM-7. Now for all those who are looking at the weapon and thinking that it looks mighty familiar, then you'd be right, as this is essentially a TAR 21 as far as I can tell from Modern Warfare 2, which isn't one of the top picks from back in the day if I remembered correctly, but it certainly was serviceable in combat. Yeah, look, this is a totally different ballpark to what we've got the pleasure of using here today. Spoiler alert, this thing is an absolute menace. I'm just going to say it straight here, this thing out of the gate feels very much like an M4 that is just a bit angrier, a bit more aggressive. It's had a troubled childhood and it's here to wreak havoc. It's got an amazing accuracy, a really, and I mean a really competitive aiming down sight speed out of the box, and even the default iron sights that it comes with I find to be very comfortable to use. I was honestly surprised when I first picked up the weapon as to how little modding it really needed to make it effective. It came out of the box and was something that I just felt comfortable with straight away. Even at range, I didn't really have any issues picking off targets that weren't showing a lot of their body at a time behind cover. The recoil didn't make it a challenge at all to pick off targets at range, no matter how much cover they were in. Damage-wise, the weapon feels very potent, and when you combine it with the ADS speed, it really has the potential to tussle with weapons like SMGs in a close quarters environment, and that is the thing that really messed with me the most. The fact that I was able to get into it with players who are using an SMG without really modding the weapon much. Weapons like the M4 even still could probably use some aiming down sight speed mods to bring them up a little further to speed in scenarios like that. But here, I don't know if I really feel as though it was as needed with the RAM-7. That's not to say that modding the weapon and adding extra benefits to your CQC playstyle isn't unnecessary, and set attachments can still be a great addition to the weapon, but we'll discuss that shortly. Now, while I could spend this entire video blowing smoke up this weapon's ass, I've got to be honest, it isn't all sunshine of rainbows, and that needs to be talked about. While the weapon has quickly been regarded as one of the most powerful ARs in the game since its implementation with Season 1, the weapon does have a comparably slow reload time to its counterparts. Now, this is actually a rather realistic element of the weapon here. As far as I'm understanding, bullpup weapons are traditionally more difficult to reload than your more standard configuration weapons, and that is certainly a case here in this game. And considering that this weapon does have a rather fast fire rate, reloads are going to be a more common thing here that demands you to pick your engagements well and know when you need to back off for a moment of downtime. I'd be willing to go as far to say that the majority of deaths that I've had while using this weapon have been completely and totally thanks to the reload time and to the reload in total, and that's mainly come down to the fact that I simply haven't taken the time to back off and reload and still being too close to the hot seat, or by just not taking the note of the amount of ammo that I have in my magazine between engagements. The mentality that I got myself in when using the weapon, and this is a tip that I definitely recommend to all players while using this weapon, is that if you are moving towards a position and you expect that you will come across more than one enemy at any given time, try your best to take some downtime and go into the engagement with a full magazine to provide that overhead. And if you can find yourself some downtime at any point between firefights, make use of the time to get a reload in while you can. I would also recommend having a quick and easy secondary to use that you can whip out at any time that pays off in the end. Something like a, yes, I know this is going to sound cheesy as hell, a 357 with Snake Shot. It's a brilliant fuck you, get away from me weapon, and a brilliant sidearm to run with this thing in case you get caught out by that reload. Now, another thing I did notice while using the RAM-7 was its sprint to firing time. Comparably, the weapon did feel as though it took a decent amount of time to actually move into a position where it was ready to deal with the repskillions that you just so happen to run across while moving at full force sprint. And if anything, alongside the reload, it was probably one of the most common causes of my unfortunately timed deaths in game. Sure, you can mod the weapon like mad to have a faster ADS speed, but there are not that many attachments in the game that let you bolster the weapon's overall sprint out speed from what I can tell, which means that this is going to be a pretty permanent issue that you're going to have to learn to deal with here. So, with that, don't go full MP5 with this weapon. Don't go sprinting around corners. Try and take it a little bit more slower. Capitalize on the weapon's fast ADS speed by walking around potential danger areas as opposed to sprinting in there like a crazed lunatic. Also, jump shotting around corners ensures that you're not in the sprint condition per se, so you're able to get that ADS down as fast as possible while remaining fairly unpredictable to your enemies. Despite this, I found the RAM-7 to be a total gem to get to max rank. It was fun to use, required very little upgrading to be fun out of the box, and if you can manage your reload related speed humps that will come up from time to time, then you will have absolutely no problems in having a good time here. Headshots here with its fast rate of fire will melt faces like no tomorrow, and if you can get your crosshairs onto point, you are going to have no problem with the recoil control. And it was just plain fun to use. It was one of those weapons that I was simply smiling using the entire time. Now, when it comes to attachments, obviously in a COD game like this, there's a lot of attachments to consider, so we obviously need to have a chat about it. You can really do one of two things here with this weapon. Accent the weapon's ADS speed for a CQC aggressive build, or accent the weapon's already low-end recoil to build a more ranged option for dominating foes at a distance. Now, for the majority of the video, you guys have been seeing my more CQC build in action, which is primarily making use of an operator forward grip, the tack laser, the stippled grip tape, the XRK close quarters stock, and probably the most important element of this actual build, Sleight of Hand. Honestly, Sleight of Hand makes a significant improvement to the weapon, and while you could be putting that slot to a shorter barrel to further improve the ADS speed, or even putting a sight on there instead, I found the difference to be negligible when you start adding more ADS improving attachments beyond what I've got here. And as I said before, the RN sights for me are very comfortable to use. I don't feel as though I need extra clarity for a weapon build like this that's going to be mainly focusing on close quarters combat. And that reload speed buff just allows you to turn the aggression with this weapon up to 11 without being too hindered by that lengthy reload time. It is a significant improvement from what I can tell. The next build I managed to conjure up here was more built for range, making use of that same operator forward grip, but also taking on board a compensator, XRK Ranger barrel, the rubberized grip tape, and a scout combat optic. Seriously, this build right here will more than comfortably deal with snipers out at a distance akin to the accuracy that you would get on an M4. Recoil is minimal, and the damage range buff that comes from the barrel means that your bullets are going to be a little bit more hey how you going than they were before out at that distance. However, keep in mind here that the ADS speed is abysmally slow, so I do consider this to be the less competitive build of the two. This is more something for those who are in a bit more of a passive mood, if you will, and feel like pitching a tent with a corresponding claymore somewhere. With that said though, I do think that the M4 with a range build is still a more powerful ranged option over the RAM-7. The RAM-7's out-of-the-box mentality just makes it that little bit more competitive in CQC versus the M4, and I think this is basically going to be an M4-esque weapon that focuses more on that CQC prowess, if you will. Guys, with that closing note and those closing remarks, that brings us to a close for today's video discussing the RAM-7 assault rifle in Call of Duty Modern Warfare. If you guys enjoyed today's video, backing that like button would be greatly appreciated. And if you find yourself backing the like button and you're new here, feel free to back that subscribe button whilst you're at it, guys, to keep up to date with all the content which I'm releasing here. I'm actually enjoying doing these weapon impressions videos because, well, yes, I'm not really having a chance to go over the stats as in-depth as I would like to. I'm still able to give you guys some good tips and tricks how to use the weapon without getting too crazy into the mumbo jumbo of numbers, but I'm still keen to do that in the future as well. So we'll see if we can start porting over this video style to more weapons in the game as time goes on. If you guys once again enjoyed today's video and you're new here, backhand the subscribe button while you're backhanding that like button, I would really appreciate it. And if you didn't like the video, well, then I'm pretty sure that other button works well as well. All my social media links are also linked in the description down below, guys. Once again, hope you all enjoyed today's video. Peace out, and I'll see you guys all in the next one. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.